90 seconds. Perfect, Jesse. You and me, Jesse, you and I are on synced. We've got our watches in synchronicity. Mm-hmm. 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Perfect, Jesse. You and me. I had my phone up on the corner and then, I think we're actually live. Apparently, Jesse and I are not quite in sync. We're off a little about 20 seconds. So, yeah. Okay. Welcome to 1000 Ways to be a Champion for Humans. My name is Alan Friesen. We are coming to you from the traditional home of the Blackfoot people, the very resilient Blackfoot people. Man, there's people for 150 years that look like me that would try to end their culture, end them as a person, but they're here, they're strong, and now we want to make amends, make them take care of, work together with our Indigenous brothers and sisters. My guest today is Janelle Marietta. She is a lovely human being. I know her through as she's the executive director of United Way. She's on the CWSS, the City Wellness and Safety Security Program. She's on Shenla. She's a huge leader, contributor on Shenla, the Social Housing Equity Network Lethbridge. She's amazing. She would solve all of our problems if she could just. Well, you're gonna eventually. Right? It's going to take a couple weeks yet, but you're going to get them all solved, right, Janelle?
I just don't think they're that easy to solve, but I'm going to try to do what I can.
Anyways, today you want to tell us about an announcement. Wait a minute. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Shenla first, or do you want to jump right into the announcement you're so excited about?
You know what? They all tie in together, and I think it's all kind of weaved in, so that conversation will happen organically.
Okay, sounds good. Well, let's start with Shenla. So Shenla used to be Vibrant Lethbridge back in the day, right? Previously, or an iteration, something like it anyways. So now the Shenla is an agency that wants to end poverty, wants to end hunger, wants to end violence, wants to end homelessness, wants to have people be healthier, have better, more enjoyable lives where they can get the most satisfaction out of life and be big contributors to their community and their families. I think that sort of frames what Shenla would like to see. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an amazing group of brilliant minds that have come together. Everyone focusing on poverty reduction initiatives across southwestern Alberta. Really great conversations are coming out of that group, and it's incredible to see the work that's happening and how quickly it's going. But Shenla really started about 3 years ago. It was kind of a collaborative of people going, you know what, we need to have these conversations regularly, and we need to start talking about how we can work together and how we can pull our projects together. Really is what the initial thought process was. It has become quite a force in this community, and certainly has been looked to for knowledge. Like I said, we've got some really strong leaders on that team that do great research and are able to contribute some really great knowledge into the community and help decision makers make good decisions with good data. So
you bet. Yeah, like Sharon's contribution to the data and Sharon Yannicke, what she brings to the table. My goodness, every time I feel honored to go to those meetings. Right, I'm not much of a contributor, but oh my goodness, all of that's happening there, and the good work that's going to come out of that, and the connections, and working with Tamarack. I haven't seen anybody that does this better in ending poverty in communities than Tamarack. So just the resources that are coming together there to make a difference in our community. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, and pointing everyone in the same direction, right? And moving those things together. I think there's just so much to say about collective impact and working together in that way. And I mean, Ellen, you're a huge part of that as well. And I know everyone at the table brings such a great insight to the decisions that are made. So it's really cool. It's a really important initiative. And I'm just honored to be at that table and even just being able to listen to those conversations.
Yes, I'm honored to be there as well. I think that we're going to make a difference there, and I'm very excited about that. But today, one thing that you're excited about that you've been working on quite a bit, tell us about the Living Wage Employer Initiative. What's that all about?
Yeah, so Shenwa and the United Way of Lethbridge in Southwestern Alberta teamed up with a provincial group to bring a living wage calculation to the community. This is the first of its kind. It really came out of the Alberta Poverty Reduction Network, the work that they were doing. A group spawned from that conversation into what is called the Alberta Living Wage Network. And this group has been working together for quite a while. It's, again, I think it's about 2 or 3 years in the works now, to come up with a standardized methodology to calculate what a living wage would actually look like for communities in Alberta. So a lot of work has gone into it. It is a really complicated process and a really big discussion with a lot of moving parts. And this group has done an incredible job of standardizing that calculation for 12 different communities across Alberta. They released those living wage calculations for each community, recognizing that the costs of living are different in every community, and we really need to recognize that and understand all of the different dynamics to what makes a wage livable for an individual. So we're excited. We finally have numbers. We've got actual calculated numbers for 12 communities across Alberta, which is the first ever that's ever happened this way.
Yeah. And an amazing range of values from communities, right? If I read that report correctly, Canmore, a living wage is what, $35 an hour or something?
Yeah.
Like that's, so there's not many people that earn a living wage in Canmore. Like not if you're a barista, you're not earning $35 an hour for sure. So.
Yeah, and a lot of that kind of kicks in conversations around where programs are falling short, right? We talk about benefits and tax exemptions and all of these different supports that are in place. But when the cost of living becomes so high in a community that wages have to kick up as well, but then that pulls people out of opportunities to access some of those benefits, that's when we start to see those discrepancies. So really interesting information that has come out of these calculations from on all different sides of the spectrum. And it's really given us some rich insight into where our pressure points are in each community and how we can start to address those issues.
Well, the detail, the level of detail that went into that calculation, it was huge. It was extremely detailed, right? And it's great. Like, we're dealing with actual facts. We know what those costs are, and here's the reality of it, right? That's great. So I think the long-term vision here is that employers who are employers are offering a living wage through the combination of their hourly wage that they pay plus the benefits plus those kind of things. It's not just a rate per hour. There's other factors that go into consideration. But if they register, they can celebrate that we're an employer that offers a living wage. We care for our folks, right? We want our folks to have a living wage and have a good life, right? So I just to interject, as you know, my day job is an employee benefits specialist. Yeah. Who do I work with? Caring employers who want their employees to be healthy, right? Well, yeah. I believe a lot of my clients are also the employers of offering a living wage. I'm going to encourage them to register and hold their hand up and pat themselves on the back and say, we're an employer of a living wage. We're doing well with our employees, right? Yeah,
and really it's exactly that. Thinking from an employer perspective, how can we make life easier and how can we support families or individuals through life, right? And making sure that people's needs are being met, and employee benefits is a huge piece of that conversation. I know you and I kind of had a side conversation about this earlier, but that is a huge part of costs in terms of healthcare costs for families and being able to afford those glasses or making sure that kids have access to whatever needs that they need to meet. And so that is a big piece of that calculation and a big part of that discussion around access to proper healthcare.
Yes. Yeah. No, I that's real important. And then on the other side of the coin, employees who are looking for opportunities, right? then knowing who the employers who offer a living wage, that would be a natural place that they'd want to be part of that team, right? And so I think it's a very good relationship for employees and employers, and overall the value to our community in terms of that people get their needs met, and their kids get food before they go to school in the morning, and all the good things that are supposed to be happening that way. So
yeah, exactly. And just having the living wage calculation takes out that guesswork, right? It's not trying to put more pressure on organizations. And in actuality, the data is showing that Lethbridge is doing a really great job already in terms of offering these types of wages and salaries, which is awesome to see. But again, it just comes down to, it takes the guesswork out. We know what we need. And we do need to recognize too that a living wage is good. It's really important. But again, there's always more we can be doing, right? Like that is the bare minimum. That is as low as we can go in terms of having an equitable and good quality of life. So there's so many different factors to this conversation, and it is a really complex conversation to have.
Yes. Hey, this is a little off topic, but I think you might even be familiar with this already. I'm going to just share my screen for a sec. Oh, there's that it. Hang on one sec. No, that's not it. Stop that. Okay, one more time. I'm going to get it this time, Janelle.
This is the one, I can feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, come on. No. Oh. All right, hang on one second. I know how I'm going to do this. I'll show. I got two. Exactly. I'll do an interpretive dad so that you describe. No. Okay. Here it is. Who you filled in for me last minute, and I very much appreciate that. Thank you. Because my guest, advanced sharing option. Who can share? No, we don't want that. Hang on a second. My guest was supposed to be Marilyn Contois from the city of the library, and she is the Indigenous liaison person at the library. I had her on here like a week ago or so, and then we were talking about this. Can you see my screen now? Truth and Reconciliation. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hallelujah! I figured out the sharing part. Nicely done. Okay.
Never doubted you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Janelle. So anyways, this is a thing coming up November 17th here. And basically it's about how you can become an ally for Indigenous people. How does that work, right? Because I think a big part of where we are right now is like having conversations. Like I don't talk to enough Indigenous people to really, understand how I might be of value or how I might be able to help them, right? So I think this is really good. And I have looked at, this came up because they got this MMIWG toolkit. Have you seen that?
I have, yes, I have.
It's amazing, right? So then when I was talking to Marilyn about that, I said, let's come on and let's discuss it. But she had a change in her plans. So she shared this poster for me to share that if people are interested, there you go. It's from November 17th, 12 to 1 o'clock, involved at the library. There's the link for it right there. If anybody can't find this later on, you let me know, and then I will get it to you. But I think this is going to be a very, very valuable presentation. So
yeah, it's so important, right? When we talk about like decolonizing our processes and really rethinking how we approach the work that we do. This is such a huge component of that. And I know Perry's done some incredible work. We work closely together on a few projects, and it's exciting to see that the city is committed to this work. And it starts with us. We all have to look internally and start to think about what we can do from our stand. Yeah.
I got to share this with you because I think it's so. Have you ever heard of Sister Shivani?
I believe that I have.
Oh my goodness. I've never heard of her either until like 2 days ago. My lovely bride Corolla is saying we take courses and webinars and watch, people that we think have offer value in terms of things you can learn or becoming a better human, those kind of things. And she says, hey, you should watch this YouTube with Sister Shivani. So I watched it, and she's just this little woman from India, and she sits with her white sarong and just sits in the microphone and just talks, right? And her premise is this, that karma is our thoughts, our behaviors, our actions, right? That's karma. And there is a predestiny. The destiny is that whatever your karma is what you're going to experience back, right? That's how it works. So today, knowing if somebody comes at you and is angry with you or upset with you or blames you or those kind of things, her argument is you don't look for anybody else to blame, or you don't try and diminish their pain, their suffering. You say, I must have done something in the past to cause this reaction. So good karma, stronger than bad karma, past karma. Yeah, present karma and past karma. Present karma is more powerful than past karma. So now the actions I take today, to act out of love and kindness and caring and, meet that person's need or address that person's concern. Well, what's my destiny now? What gets returned back to me, right? And in a similar way, I started thinking of this in terms of our community, right? The degree of pain and suffering that we have in our community right now is kind of the result of all of the actions, behaviors that happened in the past or didn't happen in the past. So present karma, what we can do today, you, me, and everybody else, what we can do today are the things that are going to change that destiny go forward. So I loved it.
Yeah, I think we're at a really pivotal point in history when it comes to these conversations and where we can heal, right, and how we can move things forward. And absolutely,
yes,
yeah,
exactly. Cool. All right, so we shared that. I shared the thing from Maryland so that I didn't forget about that. So that's good. What else do we want to talk about, Shanla, anymore about other initiatives that Shanla's working on?
Yeah, I mean, I think the living wage is going to be a big piece of the work that we're doing going forward, right? And like I say, there's so many components to that and so much information that has come out of it. It's given us a lot of insight around, like I say, the pressure points in the community and how that looks. I did actually want to touch, before we kind of jump over living wage, I want to touch a little bit on that calculation, because I think there was some miscommunication in the community, or maybe some misinterpretations of it. And so really the big piece to understand with Lethbridge is that we actually are quite affordable. We ended up falling as one of the lowest two numbers in Alberta when it comes to two-person parents or two-parent, two-children household. And so that's actually the calculation that's used across Canada.
The cost of living for that two-parent, two-child household is lowest or second to lowest in Alberta.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, in Alberta. But when we use that same calculation across Canada. And so it's always, when you're looking at a living wage calculation, that number is always factoring as assuming that it's a two-parent household with two children. And that's just to standardize the calculations across Canada, right? It gives us something to measure communities to community, and which is really important. But when we looked at that and we said, oh, wow, like Lethbridge is actually doing really well. We're taking care of our families, which is a fantastic story. Like, that's great to know, right? The benefits, the child benefits, the family benefits that are in place are actually doing the job that they're supposed to be doing, which is really cool to hear. But what we didn't realize, or what we certainly brought to light in this conversation, was it's actually the individuals that are living alone and our single parent households that are getting hit the hardest. And that's not hard to comprehend once you start to really look at the details. But that's really important for us to recognize as a community, is that those two populations in particular are actually being left behind. And that's a really important piece when we start to make decisions as we go forward, which is a huge piece of Shenla, right? We do put a lot of emphasis on families and on children, which is so important to do. But like we said earlier, right, it's kids grow up and we have to think about lifespan and where those pressure points are and how we can set kids up for success. So the number for Lethbridge and for Rocky Mountain House is actually a weighted average. So we're the only two communities in Alberta that are a weighted average, but it took the weighted average of the family dynamic calculation as well as our individual person expenses calculation, and we weighted averaged it on ratios of households in Alberta, or in Lethbridge, sorry. So right. That's actually how we got $19 an hour. So I kind of want to clear that up, because I think a lot of people were going after the city saying, whoa, like it's unbearably expensive to live here. How is that happening? But that's actually not the case. But what we did recognize that it certainly is more difficult for individuals living alone.
And really, the difference is in the family supports, or the supports that the families get, right? I mean, because the singles are paying the same rent charges and the same utility charges and the same, cost them the same, buy clothes and do everything else that the families are. But the difference is in the supports that the families get that makes it more easier to have enough.
Yeah, that is the biggest contributor of that. So, like I say, each calculation is quite complex, but when it comes down to it, ultimately families are getting benefits that individuals are not having access to, and certainly that individual is going to fall behind. And so it does definitely shed light from a positive perspective of how well those benefits are actually protecting families, but also how important it is that those pieces are in place, because if that's not the case in Lethbridge, we have a very high single parent family population, and those people can certainly be falling through the cracks really quickly if they're not getting access to those benefits.
Oh, definitely. And if we're what 20% of the kids in our community live in poverty, and probably 80% of those are you'd think are got to be in single parent households, right? Like, I'm making up the 80%. A high percentage, anyways, have to be in single parent households, right? So
and we unfortunately, just with StatsCan, we only have 2016 data when it comes to household dynamics at this point. But we're working out those details. We should actually have new data quite soon. And that's the nice thing about Shenhua. Again, a good group of people that have access to some good data to work off of. So we do know, absolutely, that their Lethbridge population in particular, I believe it's 16% are lone parent households, which is higher than the average across Alberta. So we certainly have more needs to be met there.
Yes, exactly. Well, the Shenhua meetings, I always leave with more hope, more optimism, because we got people saying, you know what, we might do this. We could talk to this, and like Shelby will talk about, we're going to get the food out to the people. We're going to have these, that's a beautiful thing, that everybody has a way to kind of coordinate to try and get the resources into the hands of those that need it. Speaking of that, what is your thoughts of this whole system navigator thing, Janelle?
Which one?
Okay. Well, I'm going to give
happening, Alan.
I'm surprised you haven't heard my spiel, but I'm going to give it again right now, because I think this is like the best investment of time that we could do to make a huge difference in our community is the system navigator training for, I'm going to say, civilian, just caring people in the community, not executive directors of community service, social service agencies, just people in the community. So the training program that I went through was, the first time it came out, was the System Navigator Training Level 1. And with that, the components they really talked about are the resources that are available in the city, right? So if somebody is having this kind of experience in their life and you want to assist them, here's the resources to help them with that. Secondly, it was about how you might be able to recognize somebody who need some support, right? Somebody who might be experiencing violence, as an example. And then thirdly is basically that you can connect that person to the resources, right? You have a little bit of a comfort level enough that you can say, Sarah, I think you might be experiencing some some troubles in your life right now. No judgment. No, if you are and you're not safe and I can help you be safe, I want to do that. And if Sarah says, okay, and then I get Sarah connected with somebody who's going to keep her safe, then she doesn't have to experience the violence. Her kids don't have to, see her experiencing the violence. And we've prevented a tragedy and trauma, as opposed to dealing with it afterwards. And for the, 5 years of, that it takes to kind of address it, if the person even ever reports it, right? Like that's the problem. There's so much of that domestic violence, and our rate of domestic violence here is, I think, is the highest in Canada, I believe. So our rate of domestic violence is huge. If we can, as we curb that back, we're going to make way better lives for individuals, way better lives for their kids, and a way more functional community for us, that people enjoy better health, better relationships, better ability to trust people, those kind of things. So I'm a big fan that we should have 1,000 Lethbridgians who are comfortable enough that they can make that offer of help to their network of 100 people they know. And that's how we get to 100,000. That's everybody's covered. That's the plan.
Yeah, and it definitely comes down to, you don't have to have all the answers as a community
No.
member. You don't need to know all the resources, but you need to know where to start. And I think that's the biggest piece for collective impact and for nonprofits and having these conversations. It's going, if we can sit down at the table and we can understand that there are a lot of moving parts in the community, but we know who those stakeholders are and we know what's going on. At least if you've got a starting point, then they know where to point you, right? And so it's those connections. It's just keeping those doors open and knowing that maybe you don't know who to call or where to call, but there's an issue in the community. So pick up the phone, call United Way, call 311, call 211, call somebody because someone's going to get you connected to the right person. Right?
Exactly.
And that's the biggest piece. Yeah.
There's the community of practice about these system navigators. We just started that last week. New leader for it. She's really good. She's going to do an amazing job. And anyways, she had a story that she shared, and I believe it was with a United Way, your counterpart in Grand Prairie, if I recall correctly. But basically, this man, his wife had left, and he has the children, and he's like had a job, but he can't do the work anymore because he's got to take care of the kids. Like right now, right? It's a sudden departure. And so he doesn't know how to do this or like how to even get food or, what do you do with this? Right. So he calls his, United Way in Grand Prairie. They have a little Slack network that they interact with, right. With their network of social services there. And they put out a little call on there, and this happened at like 11 in the morning. By like 3 in the afternoon, he's got like 4 appointments, and here's where he goes to get food, and here's where he goes to get clothes for his kiddos, and those kind of things, right? Because he's starting it fresh, right? So yeah,
and it's just wrapping those services around people and going, here's what's offered, here's what, and even though they may not always be exactly what that person needs. It's a touch point, right? It's having someone to say, hey, we're here for you, and we've got answers if there's anything that we need to support. So that is a big piece with United Way. I don't know if you're aware of 211, but that's a really important program.
Tell us more about it. I'm not familiar with it.
Everyone needs to know this. It's important. So 211 is a United Way initiative that was supported by the government of Canada at the federal level. 211 is a phone number that you can call anywhere in Canada at any time, 24/7, and you can reach an operator that will help you navigate those services. It is in, I think, 170 languages, if I'm correct. You can also text, you can type online, you can whatever you need, whatever you're comfortable with, but it's there 24/7, and that is a funded program that has access to the services across Canada. So again, if there's ever issues, we use it all the time when it comes down to someone saying, hey, I don't know what to do, start there. Just start there. Just know that you can call 211 and that someone will at least point you in the right direction.
Wow. I was unfamiliar with that. That's a great resource. So 24/7, 365 days a year, whatever problem you're experiencing, whatever challenge you have in your life, if you call 211, you're going to talk to a human being who's going to say, sorry to hear you're going through that. Here might be something that's going to help you. Yes?
Yeah. We've certainly seen a big increase in calls around evictions, around utilities, things like that. Obviously, right now it's being particularly difficult for Albertans just meeting their needs at this point. And so mental health concerns as well. They'll connect you if you're not sure who to call or where to start. Like that's just a really great place to kind of begin. Because at least then they'll know where you can start to make those phone calls.
That's excellent news.
Yeah.
So like you're in a lot of different groups. You're doing a lot of different things. So there's things that I know that that I don't know. So teach me something else. 211 is new. What else do you know that I don't know?
No, I think 211s are our go-to. That's a big one, because I think if you don't know something, call 211 and they'll likely know for you. So at least you can start there, right?
Exactly. Okay, well that's a great resource. That's a great resource.
Yeah.
Janelle, I think we've covered off. We've told about the living wage, that the employer registry for a living wage, and that employers, we encourage, if you're an employer, you want to know more about it, we can certainly find you that link for it. There's a whole calculator that you put in, right? There's
actually a certification process through this. So if employers want to go get certified as a living wage employer and get their logo up on the website, and we could celebrate them as local champions, they can actually go to livingwagealberta.ca and put their business forward. Ryan and the team from Alberta Living Wage Network go through a whole certification process with them. They actually break down all of the wages and contracts with that organization to ensure that they're meeting that standard. And then they get the kind of the rubber stamp to say, yeah, you're a certified living wage employer, which is really cool. The neat thing too, we're committed now. Like this is a resource that we're going to always have, and so we will continue doing new calculations each year, recognizing that there's inflation and things are changing, costs are changing. Government decisions make a huge impact on where the living wage lands.
Sure.
Actually, interesting story with that. We had all of our numbers calculated for, I believe it was September or August launch. And then with the announcement with the child benefits changing, that actually changed all of the numbers instantly. So we had to put a hold on. So it's things like that, right? It's a constant adjustment and constant moving parts and working process. But we will be getting that number on an annual basis. So certainly to keep looking for that, and there's some great data attached to that if anyone's ever interested in getting into the nitty gritty of it.
And I had reached out to that Ryan to ask him a question, but I can't remember. But boy, he's very responsive, gotten back to me right away. Here's your question, blah, 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 or here's your answer. And yeah, so that's great. So 2 things we want to leave you with. One is about the Alberta living wage, to register to be an employer recognized as an employer offering a living wage. That's one. Another 211. Who knew? Thank you, Janelle. 211. If you're experiencing challenges in your life, that's the number to call. 311 is the city info line, right? 211 is the United Way funded 24/7 right across Canada, 365 days a year that I'm having this kind of challenge. And then somebody will help you, guide you, or at least you talk to a human being who is concerned of your welfare. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, if it's challenging, I know it's hard asking for help, and we recognize that. If it's easier just to send a message or do text message, you're certainly welcome to do that as well. So there's always support out there.
You know what, Janelle, would you agree that, with all of us going through the experience we've had, the whole world, I think it's fairly safe to say that we all can feel powerless at times. We all can feel that we need help, right? That's the reality. And use the resource. Use might be too strong a word, but use is the right word. You get access to the resources that are available to help you get your life in a better place, right? Where you can enjoy life and be there for your family and have all the human experiences that we all want to have, right? So,
yeah, I think if anything good has come from this pandemic and the experiences that we've all just gone through, I really do hope that it increases our empathy and increases our understanding that we all at any point in time can be in a situation where we need help, and keep having those conversations. It's really easy to stay quiet and to assume I'm the only person that's going through this, or I'm the only person that's having financial struggles, or but that's just simply not the case. And I think we can all relate as humans that we all have those moments where we need support, and so there's absolutely no shame and no there shouldn't be barriers in asking for that help. That's what we're here for, and that's we all get that turn, right? We all need support where we need it, and it's certainly a brave thing to stick your hand up and say help me. So I think hopefully that's something that as Albertans we can continue to use and do.
Yeah, exactly. You remember I was giving you a hard time about your camera being so fuzzy?
Yeah.
When you just said that last thing, it got very clear all of a sudden.
Clarity moment. I like it. I can't redo it though. It's over. That was it.
But anyways, we are encouraging you. If there's things in your life you need help with, there's people that want to help. There's resources available. 211 being one of those resources. Janelle, you are a pleasure to know. You're always so informed and smart and read stuff. I just follow what Janelle does, and then I vote her way.
I don't know if that's a good strategy, but I'm doing the same thing with all the smart, brilliant people in my life, and you're definitely one of them. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Keep yourself well, Janelle, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me tonight.
All right. Thanks.